Last week, we talked about key UX topics you need in order to educate your organization about UX best practice. But education is just the foundation, and today we're going to dive into something equally crucial, which is boosting your influence and the perception of UX within your organization. But I'll be honest, changing your organization's culture to be more user-centric isn't a sprint, it's very much a marathon. And I've learnt the hard way more times than I care to admit just how hard it can be. When I started to try and shift organizational culture towards UX, I thought I could bulldoze my way through resistance with compelling presentations and undeniable data. But that approach went about as well as trying to change the weather by shouting at clouds. The reality is that cultural change in organizations is genuinely challenging, and there are solid reasons why. You see, most organizations have what I've come to call change paralysis. The longer the company has existed, the more entrenched its current culture becomes. It's like trying to redirect a river that's been flowing in the same way for decades. Yes, it is possible, but it's going to require patience and strategy. The existing culture often directly clashes with user-centric thinking, and I've seen companies where their obsession with quarterly targets make it nearly impossible to talk about the long-term benefits of UX, things like customer lifetime value or loyalty, that kind of thing. These benefits take months or years to materialize, but if the leadership is only thinking in 90-day cycles, you're fighting an uphill battle. There's also a fundamental lack of understanding about the value of UX. Many organizations simply don't have a clear vision of how UX delivers business benefits, and without that foundation, any attempt at cultural change is going to feel like pushing against a wall. What we're really trying to do here is to hack the organizational culture, reshape it to focus and foster behavior that aligns with the user experience values. This isn't about being sneaky or manipulative, it's about being smart. And this is what I've learnt over the years. First of all, be subtle, not forceful. While you could try and force through changes with authority, if you've got it, it rarely sticks long term. The more forceful your push, the more resistance you'll encounter. So think more like a gentle river than a battering ram. Secondly, make incremental changes. If you're being subtle, you can't rush things. I constantly monitor what is working and what isn't, and then adapt accordingly. I give people time to adopt changes before moving on to the next thing. Otherwise, you end up overwhelming everyone and you lose momentum. And finally, you need sustained effort. I've seen too many organizations start cultural change with great enthusiasm only to watch it fizzle out. Consistent, incremental improvements over a prolonged period is what creates lasting impact. And don't expect quick results. And equally, don't despise small beginnings. At first, it's going to feel like pushing a giant snowball, exhausting and seemingly pointless. But once you build momentum, change will happen faster and faster. The challenging part is that you're likely to be doing all of this cultural hacking on top of your regular responsibilities. And that's demanding, especially at the start. So sometimes you might need to step back from individual projects, as I've been encouraging you all along, to focus on building that crucial momentum for change. So I'd encourage you this week to look at your organization and identify one small subtle change that you could make that would nudge towards user-centric thinking. Maybe it's just asking one different question in a meeting, or sharing one customer insight in team chat, or suggesting one small process tweak. Start there. Cultural change isn't about grand gestures, it's about consistent, thoughtful pressure applied in the right direction over time. So what's the smallest change you could make this week that would plant the seed of user-centric thinking? And then next week, we're going to dive deeper into the specific techniques for cultural hacking, the practical strategies for shaping UX-friendly organizations from within. And I'll start with tactical approaches that actually work to create lasting cultural change.